What's up? Welcome to Title 24 presented by NBC Sports. I'm Ricky Carmichael alongside Ryan Villopoto. Before we get going, thank you United Motorsports, Quad Lot Case, and of course Boxo USA for tagging along. There's some great partners. Wouldn't be here without them. And like I said, of course, from the great folks at NBC Sports. And RV, we're going to hop right into it. You were at Hangtown this weekend, a lot of buzz. Obviously, Chase sitting out. We'll get into that. But your initial reactions of what you saw, both 250, 450 track, go for it.
Yeah, man, it's well, finally we had our first warm one. I wouldn't call it hot, but it was definitely warm. You could see that on some of the guys. After races, guys are bringing out cooling vests and things like that. So that was good to see. Definitely, yeah. We got Joe right here in an ice bucket. Carson getting out of his ice bucket here, ice trash can. But that's good. It's outdoors. Love to see that. Hangtown's always a special place. For me, it was always round one. So, it's always an joy, a lot of fun to go back to Hangtown. Haven't been back in a while. So that was good. As for the track, I guess I was a little bit surprised. I thought looking at the track when we showed up Saturday morning at practice, I thought it looked like it was rushed. And why I say that is man, some of the sections are, I know the Hangtown has a tendency to be one line, which is okay. We need these tracks that are a bit one line, that are hard to pass on. And they just can't all be super fast, wide open, easy to pass on. But what I thought was a bit interesting is parts of the track, they left like 2 or 3 feet of actual track before it actually went off into what I would call the side of the track. So they left 2 or 3 feet, not to say that they were going to use all those 2 or 3 feet in some of the areas, but I just thought, man, they could have done a little bit better job on the prep and getting the track a little opened up coming down some of the hills, coming down the very first hill, actually from what we would call the old step up, but now it was double up the hill, coming down that's a specific spot. I was like, man, there's like 3 foot of track over here on the side of it that you can't use it because they didn't windrow it with the blade of the dozer enough. And it just made it a bit one line. So I know some guys were complaining about that. Everybody's got to race it, but from a ex-racer and fans perspective, I would have liked to see a little bit better prep job done on the track. Yeah.
Do you know, like we were talking this before we started recording here today, I know for Supercross, but isn't MX, like, don't they have guidelines of the width of the track and how wide?
I believe they do, Ricky. I believe they do. I think it's supposed to be, don't quote me on this,
no,
but I want to say it's like 22 feet wide or more, 25 feet wide or something. And just the big sky shot jump that has you come a single before it, like that single you could barely put 2 bikes on. I thought, it was very, very narrow. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I like a one-line track. If you go and look at a lot of European tracks for MXGP, it just makes the start that much more critical. Maybe your racing strategy is a little bit different than racing at Red Bud or Budds Creek or some of these other bigger tracks. So I like the diversity in the tracks, but I do think that they could have done just a bit better of a job on the prep.
Yeah, on the prep. I like, from watching, and like I said, you were there. I mean, it looked like it was racing narrow, and I just never could tell if it was from the actual width. I thought some of the narrowness was kind of coming from just how the track was laid out. When you kind of have those 90-degree corners, it does seem like it races narrow, but that's why I asked you, is it regulated? Is there a standard width that the track has to be? And you can see right here, this is an overview of the track, and it certainly does look like it's relatively narrow, especially compared to last week. And I say narrow, just the width isn't very wide. Here's this section when they come down. This is before the old finish line, kind of. And right here, RV, is where I thought that it felt narrow to me. This right-hander and left-hander right here. Is that what you got while you're there, that
I
particular?
did. And look, I like I say, I like to see the different diversity in the tracks and having it be narrow in spots. But I do feel like we know, for instance, the old finish line right there, we know that 98% of the race is probably going to be ran inside. But if that's the case, I just feel like put a little bit of a berm on the outside. It's going to be the farthest way around it. It's the hardest to get to. So open it up for guys that maybe are getting a bad start. Like say, if you got a top 3 guy, top 5 guy that's in a 12th position.
Yeah.
Because his close rate on some of those guys are a lot faster,
Right.
like give them an option to go other places. But without a berm or without a windrow of dirt on the outside, they just got to follow suit, which I guess is racing. I guess it's part of the sport. I don't know. I would like to see a little bit more of an option out there. And maybe a little less jumps. Like for instance, going up the long uphill up to the elevated kind of turn where it's got the option where you got the inside roll or you go outside and you step off.
Right. Yeah. I remember
That's where Jet was going quad up the hill, right? Back in the day, those used to be rollers where you could actually like lob the front wheel. You weren't really jumping. You might catch a combination here or there, but I think it promotes more racing when wheels are on the ground instead of you're in the air and you got to follow suit just to jump the jumps.
Right. The 250 class, you and I were talking yesterday, and dude, you're like spot on. I think you even talked about this last week on the show, but dude, that in the 250, that 4th through like 13th or 12th, literally we talked about it. Now it's coming back. I can rethink of and remember what we were saying. It's like, dude, it's like musical chairs.
It was, man. It was honestly like you had Hayden out front, first moto, Cooper made a couple runs on him. You had Vial also.
That was a really good pass right there. We're watching a pass by Ferris. He put an expert move on Vial.
Yeah, it did. Look, the track did race well in certain spots, and you had to really pick your points of where you were going to pass. But yeah, 4th through I think 13th were all factory motorcycles. Dude, I'm telling you, I was sitting in mechanics area and I was watching the race, and you'd have first come through, okay, 2 seconds, second come through, a second and a half, third come through, and then from 4th to 13th, it was just like you said, musical chairs. Guys were all over each other. It was a dogfight from 4th through 13th, which, man, it was really interesting to see. Guys were swapping around, meaning positions, and it was a really good race to watch from 4th through 13th. I can tell you that.
And when it's like that, so our listeners and viewers watching in and someone like RV will tell you is you take a guy like RJ Hampshire, for example, and when you get in that mix of 4th to 12th and you get shuffled around, before you know it, you're buried in points compared to the 2 top guys of Deegan and Hunter Lawrence right now. You have to say that those guys are the 2 favorites after this next weekend or this past weekend. Now, after this weekend, RJ, everyone's like, okay, yeah, title contender for sure. Dude, he's already a moto back after this weekend.
Yeah, right? That's I 100% agree, and I think that's been RJ's. Go back to round 1, Paula pulls out, gets a good start, gets into the lead, pulls away, knocks down a moto win. But then his second moto, right, was a 11th, I think. Like if you're a championship contender, which
totally.
Technically on paper he is,
but
that's slipping into your fingertips already really quick. Now you're going, like you said, a moto down. Now that's a lot of points to regain without having those other dudes either a bike problem or making a major mistake, which Hunter to make a major mistake. No, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think Deegan, he's going to have a call it a mistake at one of these rounds, but the fight that Deegan has, like as long as his bike's in good condition, he's healthy after that mistake or whatever that may be, he's going to fight his way back up into inside the top 10 or inside the top 5. So your point spread isn't big. You can't be running around in 11th like he did at second moto at Paula.
No, not against a guy like Hunter Lawrence, who is so polished from a championship aspect. And in, like I talked about it last week, when I see Hayden Deegan, I see someone like you, your rookie year when you came out from the number 51, and then you just you find a way, and it's still early. He's got some growing to do, and I think he'll make some mistakes like you talked about, but you don't want to get this guy to catch fire. And RV, you know it better than anybody because you lived it. Once you learned how to win, that first season when you got your championship, you're hard to beat, dude. You know what I mean?
Somebody said that, and I said, look, dude, I said, if Hayden's ever going to have call it a rookie learning year, and come out swinging next year, these guys are going to have to be on their game. I know Joe's going to still be in the class, switching teams over to Honda. But man, the way Hayden's riding and the races that he's going to get under his belt, and man, let's face it, he's a pretty good starter, and he's able to make moves on guys. And I think next year, like I said, I was telling somebody at the race this weekend, next year, I'd bet money on it between Supercross and Motocross, he wins one of them.
Oh yeah, for sure. You'd be silly not to bet on one of those, to your point, because look how well he's doing now. And you just have to assume that he's going to get better from all the data and all the results that we have seen from him. It supports exactly what you're saying. So it'll be certainly interesting. A couple things, dude. I want to talk about that lapper that clobbered up Sushi. Like, what was happening? Like that, I saw a replay on Peacock, and that kid never even looked back over. Okay, here's a replay of the incident. Watch. He goes back on the main line and never looks right. Like,
yeah, it's
look at this.
Yeah, I mean, just bad managing his race. Obviously, you're in the lappers. You got the blue flag. It's tough, especially in an off camber like that. Like as a lapper, and you coming into a section of the track that is super one line like that, you have to be aware of your surroundings. And Hardy had been lapped by a couple guys previously to that because, Joe and Ryder I think they were in Hampshire, they were like 4th through 6th or 5th through 7th, somewhere right there. So that lapper had already been lapped, and that's totally on lapper's fault, 100%. And it collected Joe up. Like looked like Hayden got into the side of him. Hayden just squeaked by, and it wasn't enough for Joe and Ryder and the guys behind.
Yeah. For the record, to everyone listening in, Title 24 listening, or if you're watching us on YouTube, Joe is completely cool with us calling him Sushi. He even has it on the back of his pants. I think it's cool. I think it's awesome how he embraces that. So we've got clearance.
I love that nickname. I love it.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones.
He's such a dude. He's such a good guy. If you guys don't follow Joe Shimoda on social media, it's hard not to like that guy. How is he in like around the rig and stuff like that?
Yeah, so around the rig, he's the same kind of thing, quiet, reserved, but then he'll come out, and he was putting his gear on, and he comes out and goes, man, my gear's drippy, huh?
Yeah.
And in the way he says it in his accent, and and you just gotta start that. Yeah, so buddy, it's good looking stuff. It's just the way he says it. It's funny.
You talked about you were down on the track, and we got some B-roll of the save of the weekend by Jalik Swole. Massive shout out to you, bud, for being aware. But watch how close that Jalik gets to this little kid. Little kid doesn't even see it. I mean,
yeah, dude,
RV, we can't be having you go down. Stay clear. Look at this. Jalik heck of a save there, bud. Way to look out for that poor little kid there. That was unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, actually,
Oh,
I believe Cooper went off the track in the exact same spot in one of the I think Moto 1 or Moto 2, I don't remember. But all of a sudden I see him blow in from mechanics area. I'm like, whoa, 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 where'd he just come from?
right,
And then, so same thing, old finish line. When these guys come out of that left-hander, they want to like scrub the jump and get back to the left.
right.
Well, the track there wasn't a lot of real estate over on the left. Like pretty much everybody was landing in a 12-inch patch,
Got it.
which ruler size patch. And you move over another 6 inches, you land on a little more cobbly stuff. Like you have to stand the bike up and run off the track there. And then you're on part of the mechanics road there, which is hard packed blue groove. So for Jalik to go off there and then lock it up, throw
Right.
that thing sideways and just miss that kid, that was good heads up riding from him, like that stuff's not tacky right there. And
No, no, it's lucky he didn't high side too. Look how
yeah,
he's completely leaned over, dude. If that thing would
right.
have grabbed, oh
Yeah,
man, look
no,
at the
and
poor.
then
He didn't even see it. The little kid doesn't even see him. He's looking left, and Jalik sweeps up the inside. Oh,
yeah, no, it was definitely a close one. So that was, that shows you how, the thought process of some of these riders. And I know you've done it. I've done it
oh yeah,
before. You're like, holy, that was so close. That was
yeah.
so close. And
Yeah, well, I
um,
mean, yeah, I've had some close encounters, and I've blowed some dudes down for sure at that
Dallas,
I was
Dallas.
at zero control. I felt so bad. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm gonna just cream this guy. I think I took out a couple of people that night.
Yeah, a couple
Hey,
camera guys.
from what I know, you're busy like with the 250s. That's kind of your jam there on the weekends, but the little bit, if at all, if you were able to watch the 450 and what I could see from the broadcast, RV, I mean, Jet is Jet, right? I think he's out there. He's on cruise. He's toying with those guys. I don't think we need to waste too much time on him. But we're watching the start of the 450 class, and yeah, he just Jet gets out front, and the rest is history. I just think he maintains the gap that he has. If he needs to wick it up a little bit, that's what he does. But the guy that I feel did really well, and the box score doesn't show it, is AP, and it looked like he was fired up too at something. Did you hear about that? Like after the first moto?
Yeah, something I heard something about a sushi roll, or when he fell, or I think he was kind of complaining or talking about track prep and things like that.
Really?
Yeah,
What was his beef? Just the prep in general?
yeah, I didn't get to the real gist of it. I think, like I said, I wasn't listening. This is all kind of hearsay, so maybe I'm way off. But yes, I think a lot of guys were after practice. I had talked to AC, and he's, man, the track. Everybody had a little bit on the track, and especially with a 450, like the 250 guys, maybe not as much, but with the power the 450s have,
Right.
And look, the one thing about Hangtown, you've raced it a ton of times. Like,
Yep.
if you're a little bit not feeling it, or the motorcycle's a little bit off at Hangtown, it really is magnified at Hangtown, and I believe at Paula too. But Hangtown, with the acceleration bumps, with the dirt being a bit more, it's a lot more clay based. They didn't put a lot of sawdust, or back in the day they'd put the kernel of the rice in it, the husk of the rice. And it would get really soft and things like that. So as these ruts develop and then it got hot, like the track dries out and those bumps become curbs and the ruts become curbs. Like,
it's not very forgiving.
It's not forgiving on the motorcycle. So if you're a little bit riding tight, or the bike's just a little bit off, it's definitely magnified there. But as for AP, yeah, I believe watching him ride, the bit that I got to watch him, he was riding well. I feel like we're going to see some really strong rides from AP coming up here. I think he's kind of back into finding his own. And this is kind of, I think, I know we know he's a good Supercross rider, but I would say that he's a better all around motocross rider than in the different conditions. Great mud rider, great. He's kind of got a lot of tools in his toolbox for outdoors. Not to say he doesn't for Supercross, but I think if he can finish out outdoors up there on the couple times on the box, racing for that second and third spot, I believe we see potentially a different AP for the last SMX rounds.
Hey, it's one thing that has been pretty amazing. I mean, you can never sleep on the guy's skills because he's a multi-time champion, especially Supercross is Cooper Webb. I mean, just quietly knocking down those podiums. He's second in the SMX points, which will be key. You certainly don't want to be spointing. There you go. There's the SMX World Championship 450 class points after round 19. Cooper Webb's 38 points behind Chase Sexton. Be interesting to see if Sexton comes back anytime soon. If he's got mono, gosh, only knows.
Yeah, to be honest, Ricky, when I think it was Friday morning, somebody's like, "Oh, Chase isn't racing." I'm like, "What? I didn't hear that." I'm kind of involved in this industry, and I'm like, I didn't know he went down. I think it was Tuesday at Paula, is what I heard. It was Tuesday, but then I believe he rode Wednesday at Elsinore from IG footage, from just trolling around on Instagram. I believe he rode Wednesday. So maybe not feeling right, with his body, obviously with his head too. And they decided to sit it out, which is a total bummer.
Yeah. Total bummer.
Because honestly, like right now with where Dylan's at, where Coop's at, where AP's at, like it looked like if Jet was riding around at probably 70%. I hate to say that. The kid had definitely a bit more in the tank. So taking away his main competitor was a bit of a bummer. I wasn't expecting that.
No, I wasn't either, but he definitely hit the deck hard in that practice crash at Paula. We talked about that. And then obviously they talked to Lars Lindstrom, HRC Honda team manager there during the race broadcast. And he was talking about how he had taken a crash and wasn't feeling right. So, and then he was diagnosed with a concussion. And then he also wasn't feeling right, is what Lars was saying. I honestly, when I saw that Chase wasn't racing RV, I thought it was like a meme or something like someone was being funny, right? Because I'm kind of like you and I, we're connected. We'll hear things before it gets posted out there, and then boom, it's like a bombshell. I'm like, what? No way.
It was like, seriously, I think we were Friday morning. Friday when we got to Hangtown, I think we were in the hotel and I was like, "Oh, we're Chase's racing." I'm like, "What?" Like I had no idea. Like it was totally. I was actually shocked.
Yeah. Well, Chase, we hope you feel better soon. Hate that for you, dude. You've had an incredible season so far, but I know you're strong. We know you will bounce back from it. First and foremost, get that melon feeling right. That's the most important thing, I think, especially when you become our age, RV, it pays dividends when you take care of that brain. So we hope he feels better. I want to thank our sponsors, United Motorsports, Quad Lock Case, and of course, Boxo USA, unitedmotorsports.com. Great company. Boxo's in there. You can go online. They have a 10% off. It's called Title 24 is the promo code. You can use that site-wide. Like I said, 10% off of your purchase. And then Quad Lock Case. Every week we have a Quad Lock question of the week. This week is going to be a good one, interesting one that's going to lead us into the next topic. And then last, Boxo USA, great company. You can see the Monster Energy Star Yamaha team. They use Boxo USA, got a great setup. If you haven't seen everything they had to offer, especially like their shop stuff, check out, we rolled a feature during the Supercross season, kind of behind the scenes deal of the race shop there. So you can see Boxo's set up there. So it's pretty cool. But nevertheless, we thank you guys. This is where we're going to go into the Quad Lock question of the week, RV. And I don't necessarily know that it's a question. It's more of a statement and certainly a hot topic. And it's from Denny Stevenson. If you don't know Denny Stevenson, I used to love watching the guy. He was racing. He was a regional Supercross champ, East Coast, I believe it was, around the 1990-ish time, I believe. I know I'm probably got my years wrong. However, when I used to go to like Tampa Supercross and Daytona, I looked up to him. So anyhow, he brought up a hot topic last week, and I know I'm rambling right here. And this is his Instagram post, and you can tell that Debo is fired up. And to paraphrase it It basically says the sport is not protecting their best assets, the riders, by making these tracks so fast. Fix it. Check it out in there. We've talked about it before, and at first you hear all this jabber about there's too many races. This is why the guys are getting hurt. And listen, you and I raced what 28, 31 weekends a year.
Mm-hmm.
We made it through. I'm not sure, other than the speeds being a little bit faster, I don't know what's different. Other than that, yeah, the guys are super, super talented, but are they implying that we weren't doing something good or we weren't fast and that's why we were able to handle 31 races? They talk about the tracks as well, and I still stick to what I feel is the biggest problem is, and the biggest challenge is just how fast the motorcycles are. That if you look at it, that's the biggest thing, in my opinion, that has changed. This is where Chase Sexton, we're watching right now, that's his tip over he had in practice at Pala, right? He loses his balance, cross ruts, and then it's the instant stop that is the big thing. He's not, this is a special case. Like, he's not going overly fast, but boom, he just stops immediately. And that's what happens. But then when you take other crashes during the week, I know I'm rambling on, RV, and you're probably tired of listening to me, but dude, it's just, you can do what you want to the tracks. The speeds are they're fast. The motorcycles are fast.
They are. They're fast, and I jumped on Vital too to just kind of see what's on there, troll around and see, because I know this was going to be a topic. I seen some questions come across through. I knew that Denny's question was going to be brought up, and I think I just was reading this morning about the first turn, and did we have first turn crashes? RC, you had a decent first turn crash at Hangtown, the one, I don't know what year it was. You were Suzuki 450, came in, washed the front, and then your feet came off. You did a Superman and you crashed in the first turn. I'm referencing the J Mart and Mosman crash. Right here we have. J Mart got his arm ran over. I believe his arms broke. Mosman was knocked out.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, not a good one.
No, we're
not a pleasant one to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And, I can go back and reference Vegas Supercross. We have data on when I was racing, data on my bike coming into the stadium to a concrete wall, essentially, right? You're in the stadium floor and you're racing in from the outside. We hit 69 or 70 miles an hour coming into the stadium off the single into a flat left-hand turn. So as for these guys today versus when you were racing, and then I raced a bit longer after you, yes, the speeds have always been high since we've kind of gone to 450. Now, are they going a bit faster? Yes, I think they're going a bit faster. Are the bikes a bit faster? Yes, I think, but I also think the bikes are easier to ride than what we rode. They're as the sport evolves, the bikes get faster, but they also get more refined. I believe suspension and chassis and electronics for, call it traction control, what traction control we do have, all of those things do get better. So honestly, I think it's guys that are riding that pace when they do have a mistake, if they're not able to, I don't know, if they're not able to, keep it together, you know what I mean? Like some guy, like Ricky, you rode on the edge. It wasn't the prettiest, but you made it work. You had a lot of crashes, but you also had more saves than you had crashes. Same with me. I was a bit on the edge, a lot of saves, not as many crashes. So I don't know. I don't think, like you said, it comes down to speed is the killer in car crashes and in our sport too. Guys, unless, we were just talking about Hangtown being a one-line track, being a bit slower in some areas, and we still have guys first turn, Mosman getting knocked out, J Mart breaking his arm in the first turn. Like, it's par for the course of our sport. I don't know. Can you fix it? Sure, you can fix it, but it's going to take a whole redesign of displacement. Like,
Yeah.
It's not tracks. I mean, we can build jumps that guys cannot jump.
Right.
But what are we going to build? An 80-foot double instead of a 45-foot double, and now guys are quadding or tripling it, right? So it's
a great point, dude. You bringing up, and our viewers and listeners, dude, keep talking. This is, maybe people will start to understand, like, and hopefully agree with what you're saying, because I certainly do. You're spot on. There's nothing I could argue your point right now. Nothing.
And it's like, are we to a point where the riders are everybody is pushing the limits? Maybe this is the next stage of, like, call it a little bit of evolution, where like everybody's going they're starting to go a bit faster, and they haven't figured out that pace yet. They haven't reined that pace in yet. So give it 6 months, a year's time. And what we're seeing today's pace, where guys are crashing, things like this, next year, will we see a more refined set of riders able to go this pace, less mistakes, less crashing? Because it evolves every year. Like it does get a little bit faster.
The crazy thing is too, like, and this is where I'll stick up for Dirtworks track crew and the promoters of Pro Motocross Championship RV. That no one's out there trying to hurt anyone. They're not trying to make the tracks, dangerous. Like, they're trying to make them challenging, for sure. These guys take this stuff to heart. I know the Dirtworks do. I see them a lot more than I see the people at Pro Motocross Championship. But I know some great promoters in Pro Motocross. The Richies, for one example, they do a great job. Safety is their primary concern, dude. They're doing everything they can. At the same time, these bikes are so fast. And I'll give you a reference. I was thinking about this, RV, yesterday when we were talking about the topics on the show. And I remember walking the track, and I want you to tell me if this happens. I remember walking the track later in my career, when the bikes were getting a little faster, and I would look at jumps. Okay. And I was like, I hope that I don't have to do this. Like, if it was a triple out of a corner and I knew Stu would do it, or whatever it might be, or if there was a quad at the end of the lane that I knew was, like, there's a possibility, I would always walk the track thinking, dude, I hope I don't have to do that. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, I don't have, in the 2-stroke days, like, I don't have enough power to do that, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not on track walk that much. When you, at the end of your career, because the bikes are pretty similar in speed, I feel like now, as to your final years.
Yep.
Would you ever walk the track and be like, I don't have enough power to do this, or like what is it? Because that's how it was when I was racing.
It's never, I mean, currently as a 450, to, call it 2014, my last year, back to your point of like racing James, because we both got to race James and we knew that James was a jumper. No, the 450 was never a question of, do we have the power? Like, occasionally you'd have a triple out of a turn where, like, man, you're really going to have to carry good corner speed because it's a long triple out of a turn. But yeah, I would think the same thing. Like, okay, I'm not jumping this unless I have to. And the one that's going to be the deciding factor is it's going to be James. Because if James jumps it, he's my main competitor a lot of weekends. And if he jumps it, I have to jump it, because if I want to give myself a chance to win tonight, I have to be able to be on the same page as him. So, show up for the weekend and James isn't there, then okay, you're like, whew, okay. We know
I don't have to send it. Yeah.
We're all on the same page when it comes to jumping things. Occasionally, Justin would pull something out, but Brayton was a very, very calculated, precise guy when it came to jumping things, and actually Justin was one that I would use a lot. Like, if there was even a stadium supercross triple, we're so used to hitting them 5 to 6, 8 miles an hour faster than what it takes to jump the jump. I would actually use him as a gauge for me. I'd go out, I'd look around. Okay, they're jumping the triples, and I would jump in behind Justin or somebody that I really knew that wouldn't, his first couple laps, they're not just going to send it and put that scrub into it and really overemphasize the speed and what you need to do to jump the jump. And I would go and just all I needed was one time to jump it behind somebody and get how fast I needed to hit it. And then I was good for the night. Right. So, yeah, it's an interesting topic, speed.
Yeah. Hey,
I do think that when it comes down to the tracks and like you said, like really long straightaways and things like that, sure. Could we start to design tracks that aren't 100 to 200, 300 yard long straightaways and things like that? Sure, we can. But that's not something that you can just snap your fingers or that's going to happen overnight. Like a lot of these guys in tracks and promoters and the Coombses and promoters have to sit down and say, hey, let's not have something over this long so the speeds aren't as high. Let's make the track a little bit wider so there's more passing. I think it can be done. I think it can be done, but it's getting everybody on the same page to then adapt our tracks to our bikes. And I think is maybe what we need to see is what we need to start working towards is building our tracks for the bikes, meaning not letting these guys get into, not that we ever get into fifth gear, but where you're seeing these really, really high speed sections. But on the other side of it is we just watched Chase's crash at Paula. It wasn't a super high speed section. To be honest, he came in there, the track was fresh, and he kind of he lost the front and rear tire at this similar same time right there. It got loose and it high sided him. So like to me right there, that was a rider mistake, or that had nothing to do with the track. I mean, the track right now, it's first or second practice here. As you can see, it's not even rough yet.
Yeah. He like he's initiating. See, it's a little right-hander. We're watching the replay of when he crashed in practice at Pala, and he's trying to turn, and then the bike just comes out of the rut. Total rider error. You're exactly right. It wasn't fast that particular section. And listen, things are just going to happen. This is why we picked Denny Stevenson for the quad lock question of the week, just because I feel like you and we touched on it a little bit, but yes, you bring up a great point. I think that the tracks, we need to design the track, especially Pro Motocross Championship, to not have those longer straightaways, slow the speeds down. At the end of the day, I'm going to say it, just like you and I are on the same page. The speeds are too damn fast regardless, and the bikes are too fast. Majority of the time you watch all these crashes, they're rider error, but they're going so fast. So the only thing that I know to start is to fix the track and then slow the motorcycles down. We can talk all day about this. I had two topics for you. What do you think about the metal grates, and not only the metal grates, RV, but the lockdown devices? Do you think, because it raises a good point, do you think that is what's causing the chaos in the first corners? Do you wish that they would get away from the start device? I personally think that they should. I think it takes away the technique of starting, manipulating the clutch, and that I think they've made it too easy for everyone for the start. That's my opinion. But what's your opinion?
So I think that when they decided to go to metal grates what was so emphasizing on practice for lap time for gate pick, right? So I don't know about the start button. I personally I like the start button, especially for smaller guys like me and you. But I do think that having dirt starts, first of all, make you have to have a good practice time. It puts more emphasis on practice to get a good time, because right now before you'd line up to a gate or line up with dirt start, and you're like, okay, you'd go down and you'd look and look and look and you'd be like, okay, this one's not good, this one's good, this one's not good, especially for Supercross too. Some gates you'd have 3 or 4 only good gates. Well, outdoors it's a bit better, and I think that with grates you equalize the playing field behind the gate, and I think even with a starting button like we've had before, we've had that the last 20 years, let's call it. And like, I like the starting button. I don't think the starting button should go anywhere, but part of outdoors is having a dirt start. I know that MXGP's gone to it for grates. We're Supercross, we have grates. And they're just trying to make it more familiar. But the great outdoors has always had dirt starts, and I think that's kind of something that I think they should go back to. I mean, I just think it comes down to gate prep. How's your mechanic prep the gate? Where are you picking it? Because, and also too, they're not going to launch out of the if we're talking speed, they're not going to launch out of the gate as fast as they would with dirt. So we might be coming into the first turn at Hangtown now, or Paula, or any one of our nationals, 3 to 5 miles an hour faster versus a metal starting, or versus a dirt starting pad, right? So I don't know. I mean, we can debate all this you want round and round and round, but I do think that dirt starts that's outdoors to me.
Yeah. Hey, no, fair point. And then, dude, even 2 or 3 mile an hour could make a big difference. I think they'll be less bunched up. They won't be as even, to your point. There's
starting techniques, right? Starting techniques coming down to the perfect, the release of the clutch. Now, to be honest, we know nobody's getting wheel spin. So now it really comes down to we've eliminated 1 to 2 or 3 things you have to be perfect on. Now it's really reaction time and getting your shift points right. That's what it comes down to now. Before it was reaction time, getting your shift points right, making sure that you get out of the gate good. You don't explode the rear tire and spin it, or you don't not spin it enough and it wheelies out of the dirt. So I think it takes another element out of it. Now it's just clutch release and shift points and reaction.
Right. Josh Hill commented on Debo's post, and he made a fair point. You know, he's like, he thinks like the takeoffs aren't steep and the landings aren't steep enough. And I agree with what he's saying, because essentially you would think in theory that would slow people down, right? What I would say in an argument to what he said is that the problem is now with all this horsepower, that you have the steep takeoffs, the steep landings, and then it's the guys still have the power to do it, so they're going to go for it. Like, it's going to be not going as fast, but they have the power to do it. They're not scared to try it. Therefore, I'm worried they're going to crash because they have the power to get it done, right?
I agree. I agree with that. If you don't shorten the straightaways and you make the jump steeper, we're going to run into guys rushing the jumps, trying to scrub harder. You might get more foot pegs caught on the takeoffs of the jumps if you make them steeper and more supercrossy for outdoor, like for the outdoor track. You run into that issue. I really think that really like where we were topic was where the lapper and Joe hitting the lapper. Did you see how slow that off camber was? I just think if you really want to make a quick change, and I mean jumping on a dozer and changing it now and really that quick, is making the tracks more technical like this, where they have to, like you see how they're standing up through there. They're only going about, like Joe fell, right? He fell, he got up, like it was a crash. It was a low speed crash. So low speed crashes 9 times out of 10, you're going to just jump right back up and you're going to get going. So old Redbud, for example, went up on the hillside after the start, go down, big step down. And that whole hillside over there had about two more, I think, off cambers than we do currently. Back when I was racing. So slowing those sections down to where, you can have a high speed section where it comes in, maybe it's 3rd, 4th gear coming into it, but you go down to 3-4 miles an hour and then back up to, 40 miles an hour, where a lot of our turns now, they're coming in 40 miles an hour, let's call it, use that number. And they're being able to rail a lot of the turns at 20. So we're not starting from 3 miles an hour. We're already going 10 or 15 or 20 miles an hour through the turn or out of the turn. So the generation of speed that they're generating around some of these turns, because they're so much more open. But once again, tight sections is one line. So there's that happy medium.
Yep. I mean, dude, and just to put a bow on it, like you said, we could sit here and debate it all day. And listen, you look at F1, you look at NASCAR. I mean, all those cars had those companies, those teams had the technology. Those cars could be going 300 miles per hour. F1 could be. I mean, they're dang near close to that. Certainly NASCAR could. I mean, They were going faster back in the day. They had to slow them down with restrictor plates, and it all, in my opinion, and I'm going to stand by this till the day it ends, is I just think that the bikes are so fast. I think that is the root of the problem. And I think everything that we've talked about here today on this show is things that we can make it better, but they're band-aids, right? They're patches, in my opinion. I feel like you got to fix the root of the problem. And the bikes are just, they're fast. But then you think about the OEMs, they spend a lot of money, technology, R&D to get these bikes to where they're at. And you know, here we are. So maybe there needs to be a greater conversation. That's my opinion. It's going to be hard for anyone to get me to think otherwise. It's more that than it is the amount of races, you know, because RV, you know how it is. We racing, you know, we race 28, 30 times a year, 31 times a year back in the day. And then we go get some side hustle in Europe, you know? So I just think it's the bikes are fast. That's it.
They are. No, they are. They are. I look, like you said, we could band-aid. We could fix a bit of these things, but ultimately, like you said, the bikes are fast.
Yep.
And that's just where our sport is currently, you know. Yep. It's not pro motocross, not supercross. These guys are all putting in the work. They're all trying to make it the best they can.
Yep. Little preview into next weekend on NBC, and Pro Motocross Championship is a good one. Remember, always check out SMX Insider with Weege and JT. That comes out Thursday at 2 p.m. on YouTube. Saturday is round 3, Pro Motocross. It'll be at noon Eastern with Race Day Live and the racing from Thunder Valley. Both are on Peacock with the post-race show later on YouTube. Then on Sunday, MotoGP is back from their spring break. I can't wait for this. The Italian Grand Prix from Mugello. That is an epic race. Mugello is always good. I always want to go there. Never could make it. So you can catch all the action live on MotoGP.tv. Then of course Thunder Valley. I liked racing Thunder Valley. I didn't like how slow the bikes were, but I think it's a good racetrack. It's a little on the fast side. I feel like when I raced there, I don't know how it was when you raced there, RV. But I feel like it's gotten a little bit faster, but I nevertheless, I enjoyed going there. They do a great job there.
They do. You got the elevation that comes into play, right? For the rider standpoint, it also makes a big difference with the motorcycle performance and power. This one for the fans' point of view, if you don't know, 250s, 450s, everywhere that we ever race, we start in second gear, except for places like Colorado for the national or Utah, potentially for the Supercross. First gear start. So big change up there. Some guys will try to change their internals of the trannies to the transmissions to get to the ratios to where they can start in second gear. We never had that option back when I was racing. I doubt you had that option. So we would show up there, get the bike jetted the best we could. And then we would start in first gear. So big, that's kind of a big, I call it, like that's something you got to learn or get, be accustomed to, knowing that you show up to Colorado. Okay, we're doing first gear starts here, which is not typical for our motorcycles. So it's a bit different. I mean, literally you got to shift to second gear as the rear tire is going over the gate. Right. So you got about, 4 feet before you're grabbing second, so that, I mean, your foot is right up on the foot peg and you got to shift. And then in the altitude, like I said, it makes a difference in the bike, and it 100% makes a difference in the performance of these guys' bodies. Being up that high, racing for 30 minutes, like it definitely takes a different toll on you than racing down at sea level.
Right. Thunder Valley will be at 3 p.m. Eastern. That is. Well, dude, that was good stuff. I think we did a deep dive for what was a great topic that Denny Stevenson brought to life for a quad lock question of the week. And Debo, slide into our direct message, if you will, and we'll get you some product, dude. I think you're going to like what they got. But most importantly, great topic. Great question. Are you going to Thunder Valley?
I will be going to Thunder Valley. Yep. Going out on Thursday or Friday, going to check that one out. And
nice.
Yeah. So trying to hit all the close ones. while I can without the long travel. It's like I love going to the races. I love seeing everybody, but man,
Yeah.
I look and I'm like, God, the travel is I just dread it, man. I dread the travel part of it.
Right. Thank you to United Motorsports again, Quad Lock Case, Boxo USA as well. We appreciate you guys and everyone, all of our fans that listen to Title 24. Remember, you can check us out on your favorite podcast applications. We're all on that. Or if you want to watch us on YouTube, remember Motorsports on NBC YouTube page, and of course Peacock. It's always on demand on Peacock, so you can go rewatch old episodes. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate all of you guys' support. Love it, love the growth. Keep sending those fan interactions in as well, and we will get to them as much as possible. Hopefully you guys are liking what RV's doing on his personal site, so make sure you go there and check him out. Some behind the scenes stuff. They're doing a great job over there with that. And everyone have a good week. RV, we will be in touch, and then we'll do this again next week and download from Thunder Valley.
That's right. Yeah. And guys, and I know me and you, Ricky, were talking about, hey, let us know, hit us up on the DMs. Would you guys be interested in wearing some swag? We were talking about doing some hats, maybe some t-shirts, some giveaway stuff. So if fans, if you guys would be into that type of stuff, DM us.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Doing the poll, we're like, should we make some merch just to show some love to the fans? So great point there. Great point, RV. I like that.
Yeah, so let us know. We'll start working on it if you guys are keen on it.
Well, we appreciate everyone, and that's a wrap. We will see you guys next weekend.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.